Okay. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to the June meeting of the CTI Technical Committee, albeit a week later than normal. I appreciate everyone coming in today. We've got a quick agenda for everybody. Just a couple quick updates. We want to go ahead and get people. Says I think a lot of us have been engaged with a lot of different areas. Couple things to be going. Go to the next slide, Trey. We'll do our second. Yeah, you're good there. Just do a quick updates on a TC, asking for volunteer support as we do, and then get into subcommittee updates, and then talk about where we are with the ITU process. As I see here, we've got Duncan online. Good. Okay. And Duncan, when we get to it a little bit later on, it says if there's anything you want to go ahead and talk about the gathering that you guys had done earlier in the month, if there's any updates you want to go ahead and pass on there as well, we'd be happy to go ahead and give you some time for that.
Okay.
So if we go on to the next couple of slides, Trey. So we are still looking for a co-secretary to go ahead and help Kelly out, and be able to go ahead and provide coverage in some of the in the evening meeting, as well as some of the other areas to give her a hand, as well as we are coming out of Interop, and I think we'll hear from Kartikey on that later today, to be able to go ahead and talk about kind of what we're going to be doing with taxi. So if you are interested in the roles, reach out to to one of us, or to listserv, put your hat into the ring, so to speak. Okay. Any comments on that? All right, let's then jump into subcommittee updates. And Christian, put you on the spot of go ahead and talk about what's going on in the STIX subcommittee, please. And if you're talking, Christian, you're on mute.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I was sorry. Can you?
Yeah, if there's any updates for the for the STIX subcommittee for the last month.
Wait, I'm not really.
Hey, Christian, maybe we can come back to if you're having some technical issues, we could do Interop and come back. Oh, there you are. We have audio and video.
All right. Right. No, yeah, maybe just come back to Interop first.
Okay, that's fine. So, all right, Kartikey, can you come off mute and give us a Interop update?
Yeah, can you go to the next slide, please? All right, so the main update
first of all, I have to give compliments to whoever put this slide together. This is an extraordinarily easy to read, yet information dense slide.
Thanks, Trey. And yeah, so the main highlight on the interoperability front is that we had our plug fest. So this is kind of the culmination after we went through the STIX 2.1 and Taxi 2.1 interoperability standards. We did a plug fest to make sure we knew what we were talking about. So it occurred last week, 15 through 17 June. We tested the interoperability of STIX and Taxi tools per the STIX 2.1, Taxi 2.1 interoperability standards. It was sponsored and hosted in person by Peraton, and they were kind enough to include some breakfast for those of us that went in person. And then MITRE, Peraton, and Fujitsu participated, with the rest of the participants being virtual. And thank you to the TC for letting us use the Zoom. Personas tested. So on the STIX front, we had TIP and SEAM from Fujitsu. We had TIP, MAS, so the malware analysis system, and STIX producer from Peraton, and then MITRE provided a STIX consumer and STIX producer. The number 2 next to some of those personas indicates that they were certified at the level 2 interoperability, so meaning they have more additional functionality than just the base level requirements. And then all organizations had a taxi client and a taxi server, and those were used heavily to send STIX data back and forth. In total, there were 169 STIX sessions or connections made between the various systems. So just a session would be Fujitsu sending a attack pattern object to Peraton, for example, with additional sessions specifically for testing Taxi 2.1 interoperability. Now, due to time, we did not get to testing filtering, and so we are planning a continuation of the Plugfest focused specifically on Taxi 2.1 filtering, which will be scheduled soon. I'm just gonna confirm some details with Marlon on that soon, but maybe in the next week or two we'll have that and kind of finish up the testing. Next slide, please. So here's a quick recap of some of the lessons learned on the testing front. Having a predefined common set of STIX 2.1 objects and Taxi 2.1 requests would be helpful to kind of speed things up and to make verification of results a little bit easier. One thing that we had to do during Plugfest was each organization kind of asked the other that, so is this the object that you sent? So that slowed things down. We could try for an automated test suite to enable rapid results verification and enable executing the test more quickly. And then another thing is to ensure connectivity issues are resolved prior to Plugfest. So during Plugfest, some of the organizations had connectivity issues connecting to others, taxi servers, and so on. So ideally, we would try to get those resolved ahead of time. As far as tools go, so the various STIX and Taxi tools that were created. So there were various bugs discovered during Plugfest, so that's always a good thing to catch them during that testing phase. There were some potential ideas shared about user interface and some other features. So as people were sharing their screens and showing their tools working, others were enlightened or inspired. And then there were also some opportunities realized for increasing efficiencies within their own tools and whatnot. So that's also good. And then on the interoperability standards front, there were a few potential areas identified for improving clarity. A special note would be the trailing URL slash or the trailing slash in URLs. That definitely caused a few hiccups here and there. So making that a little more clear would be helpful. I guess any questions for interoperability or about Plugfest?
Would you do it again?
Would I personally do it again, or would we do this again?
Yeah. And like if you, let's just say, what would be your top 3 bits of advice for whoever was doing it next time?
Yeah, so personally, yeah, sure, I'd do it again. The bits of advice, and so as far as we do have the filtering continuation that will be happening soon. As far as another Plugfest, I think that may depend on when we have significant updates to the interoperability standards. As far as bits of advice, I think there's a couple in the testing portion there. So having that common set of objects and trying to automate as much as possible, that would be helpful to really speed things up. Otherwise, yeah, just good note taking coming in and making sure that so obviously there was good note taking that happened this time, but yeah, just people yeah, attention to detail and maybe being able to dive into some concepts a little deeper would be cool.
Cool. Steve, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, just some lessons learned, obviously, both as a host as well as the participant. is very valuable for us, and we'd be happy to do that. One primary lesson learned was to test it in the wild with other applications that are speaking the same standard. There were definitely some lessons learned for our team, and some changes made in rapid succession to tweak our system to work with other producers and consumers of STIX and Taxi. One suggestion potentially for either the next one or the one after that is working with other TCs within OASIS that are using STIX. So whether it's TAC or OpenC2, being able to others within the community that are using STIX data.
Excellent. That's very good. And Jason, I see you've got your hand up. It's good to see you, sir. And I think you might have some point of view on working with other groups within OASIS.
Oh, thanks, Rod. Yeah, no, I just had a question actually. So did when it says various bugs were discovered, like is that referring to bugs in the tools or bugs in the testing suite? Or bugs in the testing tools? I guess out of those three, like, was it bugs in the things that people were bringing to the interop, or is it bugs in the interop spec? I guess is what I'm curious about. And did any opinions on raising visibility on tooling around the testing? I guess is what I'm curious about.
Yeah, so that primarily, so the various bugs primarily refers to the tools that people brought. So there were certain use cases or just certain properties or such that were not maybe anticipated ahead of time, or certain values for a certain property. So yeah, the bugs were primarily in the tools that people brought. As far as the standards goes, yeah, so there were a few areas cited for additional clarity, where additional clarity could be useful. For example, the talking specifically about the trailing slash in URLs, because initially some organizations included the URL slash and would only account, or their systems would only work if that was included, and others would only work if it wasn't. So bringing everyone up onto the same page there was important. Yeah, does that answer your question?
I think so. Yeah, I guess so it sounds like there's kind of a mixture of things that should be brought back to the TC to improve in the spec, and also some things that should be accounted for perhaps in some of the tests as well. Yeah, okay.
Yep. And as far as a testing suite goes, there was no automated test suite or suite of software provided. So there was individual organizations. We went one by one down the checklist of tests to see, okay, can this organization, this persona from this organization connect to that one and send the appropriate objects, and then does the consumer, the receiving end, receive the correct objects, and so on. So it was I guess due to a lack of time or whatnot, there was the testing was manual in a sense, and so that's definitely one of the main suggestions is for the next Plugfest is to spend a little more time setting up an automated test suite as much as possible.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting, I think, project for the TC to consider coordinating, because the reality is I can guarantee that everybody who brought stuff there has their own internal test suites, right? And a lot of other TC members, I'm sure, have test suites in their products as well. And
and I'll remind
we're all duplicating the work.
And I'll
right?
remind the TC that I have been holding on to the domains STIX Labs and taxilabs.com for like nigh on 8 years or something, just in anticipation of one day there being some test suite to go behind them. So I can't make that happen, but I've got the domains. Pat?
So just want to point out for everybody that both David Elkin and I were co-chairs of the interoperability subcommittee back in the early days of our OASIS efforts. And we expended quite a bit of effort with the University of New Hampshire Interoperability Labs on putting together exactly what we're describing in bullet item 2, an automated test suite that any stakeholders could run in either as developers and or as integration and or as customers. We got pretty far down the road with them in terms of a plan for execution and delivery of that. There was some costs involved in having them produce and manage those for us, but my reason for interrupting here, if there's any interest now at this point in our evolution of the standard and our work here in the TC, I would be more than happy to engage with the interoperability subcommittee and revisit that. And then if there was interest in moving forward with another run at that in terms of engaging them or some other party to provide for us a standards driven set of interoperability tools. And there's a lot of caveats, there's a lot of details and issues or whatever, but I'm just raising my hand that if we're now at the point that we want to revisit that, I would be more than happy to jump in on the interoperability subcommittee and at least go through what we provided and see if those contacts are still there. Over.
Oh, excellent, Pat. No, that's really good to hear, and I think that that's a very natural evolution of where we want to go. I think, and as Kartikey and Marlon are kind of, and the rest of the Interop committee are kind of going through and sifting through the data, sifting through the lessons learned. I fully expect to go ahead and see, at least in some of the working sessions, if not actually a more active conversation in Slack and the listserv around areas where we do need to go ahead and make improvements, be it either in updates to interoperability guides, errata for the standards to be able to go ahead and or if we actually are finding something that is actually breaking, but seeing what we need to be able to go ahead and do to actually go ahead and fix that in an iteration of the standard. So this has all been very important work for us. So Kartikey, and I know Marlon can't be on the call here, but kudos to you both for pulling all this to go ahead and together and trying and getting the engagement with the community to go ahead and do this. So I'm really appreciative there.
Yeah, and Pat, that's a really good point. It would be useful to engage with them because potentially, so we do have the filtering one coming up soon, but we could try again for another plug fest down the road. Hopefully, if we can start engaging other TCs or other members and get more organizations involved, then telling them that there's an automated test suite that'll help them ease the load for them, then maybe we can get more groups involved. So that could, yeah. So
I just want to give a call out to Alan and all the folks that, got us to our personas and all that work. So we're much further along than we were 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, however long it was. So, all those efforts would help drive us towards a more defined, constrained outcome deliverable. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Anything else, Kartikey?
nope, that's it for me. Thank you.
All right. Christian, okay to go back to you?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Christian. Sorry about that.
All right. Yeah, this is going
sorry,
to
for
be-
those of you at home who are wondering about that weird break in the video, it was just somebody hit a button. It wasn't like, anything.
All right. Yeah, only a very quick feedback from the best practice work that is still ongoing. I've had a very quick chat with Emily to see if there was anything in particular to report. Yeah, besides telling that the work is ongoing, that we're have started working on errata, and everyone is welcome to join and to contribute to give feedbacks and to review the document that is available. There is not much to report here, so I'm just gonna paste the link in the chat if that is in any case available. So yeah, it's ongoing work. And yeah, there wasn't much to report.
Okay, thank you, Christian. I appreciate that. Rich, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that as far as the best practices document goes, I encourage everybody to go and review it and add their comments and new ideas and rejecting current ideas that are in there. The other thing I wanted to thank Jeff Mates for adding some stuff on the incidents, which is the new object that he's been working on and leading, and some other additions. So there's some new stuff. If you have looked at it, there is some new stuff if you want to go look at it again.
Excellent, thank you. Margot?
Hi, I'm sorry, I just have one question, Christian, because I just got some internet issues. Are you talking about the exploratory committee to help to define the vision statement of the CTI technical committee, or are you talking about something else? Because I'm sorry, a few weeks ago, I think that we talked about the to put in place an exploratory committee. Rob?
Yeah, we haven't made a whole lot of progress on that. And I was going to go ahead and talk about that in a little moment. And so lots of things that have been happening in the background,
Yeah.
You know, with work commitments and the like. The Christian was referring specifically to the STIX best practices document.
The best practice. Okay.
Yeah, and work that the committee's been doing there, and Rich's updates to that. So
Okay.
definitely on the exploratory piece. Stay tuned. We're trying to go ahead and get that kicked off. You know, hopefully soon. If I can actually, you know, peel away more than an hour at a time for my client.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. So thank you for those updates. That's good. So actually, it is a really good. You know, before we jump into some other stuff, there are some. That is a really good. So I know back a couple months back, we had talked about kind of what the future of the TC looks like, and asked for some inputs, and some participation, and a number of folks have actually, you know, put their hat into the ring on that, and we thank you for that. We have not been able to go ahead and really give that the time it deserves, you know, and by we, I mean basically me, as trying to go ahead and drive this, and be able to go ahead and push forward. So I'm hoping that as we come out of this month and go into some of the summer months, you know, working around people's, you know, holiday and leave schedules and the like, so that we can go ahead and actually make some progress on that in the slower summer months, so to speak. The next thing is, before I go into the ITU piece, which is the next one, which is a relatively quick update, but a milestone nonetheless. Duncan, did you have any updates that you wanted to go ahead and make on the interop work that your group was doing back in the beginning of June?
Sure, I can give a quick update on the cybersecurity automation workshop. First of all, thanks to all of you who did participate in it. If any of you did participate in it, I'd bug you to fill out the results section. The website's all run from a GitHub repo, so you can just do a pull request against it to put in some of the stuff I'm about to say that I don't think is in there yet. But there was an interop sort of among the different groups doing the different things, and STIX did play a role in it, particularly associated with STIX Shifter, the OCA project that makes use of STIX to share the info. There were some sort of overall bigger use cases that we were trying to connect together. And so there is a section in the results section on the STIX results, and there's a section on the STIX shifter results, both of which I think are still empty. So if people could fill them out, but from the good news viewpoint, people did actually do stuff, and there was good discussions between the groups. Everyone sort of saw the bigger picture. A lot of the focus on the particular use cases we were doing at that particular plug fest was on the PACE related stuff, the posture attribute collection and evaluation OCA project, which particularly because of the focus lately on SBOM, software bill of materials, and VEXs and CVEs and NVDs and all that stuff were associated with the sort of how to handle all that stuff. And I don't think the STIX use of CVEs and SBOMs came up in particular. It came up in some other meetings I was at. So it's one that just a use case where this stuff does sort of tie together. But the actual STIX shifter to share threat information and then sort of kick off, OpenC2 actions and Cacao and all those other things did come up. And I think that's probably about it. I don't know. I think there were some others on the call who were also present, so they could say a word or two if they want. But I think that's it. Overall, it was a success. I think it was good. I think people did learn from it. It's a little bit of a bummer for me. I had a hastily scheduled operation necessary that I ended up being in the hospital until the day before the plug fest. So I could not attend physically myself and had to attend virtually. But I do think it was very good. Thank you again to AT&T for hosting it. And it was both a combination physical virtual event, and it was hosted by AT&T at their AT&T forum in downtown DC. And I'll shut up and see if anybody else wants to say anything. Over.
All right, thank you, Duncan. Anybody have any questions or comments regarding that? All right, let's go ahead and then Trey, if you'll just jump forward a couple of slides to the ITU piece. So where we stand here is that if you go to the next slide, on the last month. We had brought up the discussion around, do we want to go ahead and progress STIX 2.1 and TAXI 2.1 as candidate standards for the ITU, and thank you, Duncan, for kicking us in the collective behind to go ahead and move that forward. We actually opened up a motion, and that passed more or less unanimously with both sessions last month, I should say. And so that actually kicked off the official kind of a process that we had to go through. So we submitted the official request to OASIS staff, roughly around May 25th. And then following that, OASIS opened up a special majority vote to approve the submission of the request to the OASIS president, or in this particular case, the president of the board, as OASIS does not have an executive director at the moment. That ballot was opened up on June 16th and closes today at 11:59 p.m. Universal time. And so there's a few more hours left if you want to go ahead and vote. Actually, this slide's already out of date. There's actually currently 25 votes in favor. We needed 20, so this ballot does pass, and we will actually then be going on to the next steps. But if you want your name recorded for posterity, and you've got voting rights, please go on to Kavi and go ahead and vote for this. To go ahead and add to that. Next slide, please. So where this gets us now.
Duncan, sorry,
go
Duncan
ahead.
had his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, Duncan.
Actually, I'll put it down again until after this slide, because maybe you're going to cover it. I'll hold.
Okay. So once this ballot closes later today, OASIS is going to go ahead and open up a 15-day staff review period, where they're going to go through the submission, they're going to go through the standards and identify any gaps that may be found. There may be a remediation process that we have to go through to be able to go ahead and fix some things. And then, assuming no issues, we will go into a public 30-day call for comment to the larger OASIS membership. And then if there's no issues that come out of that, the president will then go ahead and have up to 15 days to approve the submission, and then submit to, and actually then an additional 15 days to get this to the ITU. So if we follow this process, we're looking at probably another two and a half months of time before we can actually get this to the ITU for their review process. But we are on the path of getting to that next stage. So keep your eyes and ears open to see whether or not we get any comments back from staff. Okay, now Duncan, any additional comments to make if I missed something?
Yes, just one observation to make, that there was a lesson learned from going through the process, just to know for other things to do it, and to learn particularly for this particular vote to make sure we do it. So it turns out that we voted a month ago to basically say, hey, start the process. It sort of sat in limbo for a little while because it turns out it doesn't occur magically. We actually have to, Kelly had to go actually type stuff into some OASIS administrivia system to actually let OASIS know that we passed the vote and kick the process off. So one sort of lessons learned is to recognize that when we do stuff that requires, more work by the OASIS staff, we have to fill out tickets to them, not just assume they read our meeting minutes and know we do it. And my reason for bringing it up is I'm not sure, but I think we're going to end up in that same state at, midnight GMT tonight, that I don't know if they automatically start this process that you start at the beginning, or if we have to type in a CAVI ticket to make that process start. And I'd say, who cares if it takes a couple extra weeks like the other one did, except for that 2 to 2.5 month period you just mentioned. We're running right up against certain ITU deadlines. It would be really nice if it made it into the August ITU meeting. And if it misses it, all right, then it's got to wait till next March's ITU meeting, and that's just life. But since we're sort of right almost at the, hey, it might make it, it might not make it, depending on literally what day you start whatever thing. I just assume we didn't add any delays after today. I mean, OASIS will add whatever it will add to its 15 days at either end. But I'm going to yell at them to hopefully make that short. But if we can make it, we can make it. If we can't, we can. I just don't want to make sure we don't miss something, because hey, at the end of our evening meeting, once everything's closed, whether somebody needs to type something or not, because Chet's not on the call, I don't believe. And it sort of took some interaction with Chet to realize that, oh no, he's not doing anything yet on the special majority vote until we tell him to. So if there's again something here we got to tell him to do, I just want to make sure we do it. Thank you.
No, thank you, Duncan. And those are all very, very excellent points. And to that, I am definitely in contact with Chet. So I'm staying on top of this one here. And I've also socialized this with different members of the board as well, so that this is coming. So as staff does their work, to expect that there will be some, they may be pulled in for some of these reviews and the like. So hopefully we can go ahead and, I don't want to say necessarily expedite, but move smartly on what has to happen over the course of it. And again, these are the long periods. And if staff finds that there's nothing wrong, and they can actually get some of these done sooner, then it doesn't need to be a full 15 days. I'm just looking at kind of worst case scenarios if they're following this timeline. So hopefully we can go ahead and get this. The only one that's actually a hard open is basically that 30-day call for comment to the public. I mean, that's that has to be open for 30 days. But the others can happen sooner if no issues are being found.
Yeah, I just want any delays to be because stuff has to get done, not because we forgot to do something.
Yep, I 100% agree. So that's where we are on that. So like I said, we are I think this is a pretty big milestone for us so I'm looking at the balances, so we've got like I said 25 votes in favor, and out of I believe it's 29 or 30 overall voting members that are eligible for this. So we need to be able to go ahead and go through there's a couple more folks. If you want to be on record, feel free to go ahead and add your support to this. Anything from you, Trey?
No. So we're going to be having a TC meeting next month, but skipping August as usual, correct?
That is the current intent, yes.
Just making sure that everyone knows. So if you have something that you want to have on the agenda before, let's say, September, please kick it to the list or bring it to one of the co-chairs' attention.
All right, and I think the next is basically just open floor for anyone who has questions or other comments? All right, hearing none, I move that we adjourn and everybody enjoy the rest of your day / evening, as the case may be. We will go ahead and repeat this session again tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. For those of you who really want to go ahead and hear it all over again, because you love it so much, or we'll go ahead and get the rest of our community up to speed. So thank you everyone for joining, and look forward to seeing you all next month.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye all.
Thanks, Rod and Trey and everybody else. Thanks.